huge competitive disadvantage on corporate tax rate. We have the fourth highest gas tax, but we're actually highest in gas costs because some of the cap and trade regulations are actually, the cost of those are folded into the cost of gasoline, so we clearly have the highest fuel costs in America. Even with Prop 13, this is the shocker. Your progressive friends may be shocked to hear this, but even with Prop 13, California is not a low property tax state. We rank 17th out of 50 in per capita property tax collections, meaning we're in the top third. So Prop 13 has not starved education, trust me, it has not. We still have higher than average unemployment. In terms of lawsuit abuse, many objective measures have concluded that we have the worst legal environment. I think the precise legal term is a judicial hellhole. And part of the problem, of course, is California has 12% of the nation's population, but we carry over a third of the welfare load.
Oh, brother.
So that's part of the problem. And of course, we have the honor of, for 14 years in a row, being ranked 50 out of 50 states in business climate. So just, it's bad. And all of those horrible metrics, and I love California. I've been here since 1982. I have no intention of leaving. However, a lot of people have, and we all know people who have. I have some good friends, some who are former state workers. I have a neighbor who has 3 years more of public service to put in, and he's already bought his lot in Texas. He is a Superior Court judge. He's out of here as soon as he's done with his judicial service. So we're losing people who have money, and we're losing businesses. You know the list. Nestle's Corporation just last week announced that it was moving from Glendale, California to Arlington, Virginia. Waste Connections, Comcast, Campbell Soup, Tesla's building its battery factory in Nevada. Boeing, the C-17 plant closed. Farmers Brothers Coffee, which I guess is pretty big down south, moved out. And so there are four demographics we see moving out of the state of California. First of all, clearly, high wealth individuals are either restructuring their finances if they want to stay here, or they're moving out so they don't have to pay that 13.3% highest in the nation income tax rate. If you're a high wealth individual and that is 13.3% off of everything you make, all right? And you have the choice of living in California or in Austin, Texas, or Miami, or Las Vegas, or Reno, or on the other side of the lake of Lake Tahoe, and pay the highest marginal rate of zero, no income tax. That is what California is competing against. High wealth individuals are moving out. Skilled labor is moving out. If you're a diesel mechanic in the Bay Area, you can't afford the rent. If you're a diesel mechanic in Texas, you can afford to buy a home. There's a high demand for skilled labor, not college educated, but people who know practical things. And of course, college educated young people who California taxpayers are paying for their education, but many of them have a hard time finding jobs and can't find places to live that are affordable. So they've moved out as well, and that one strikes a little bit close to home because my daughter, who got her degree in biochem from University of California, San Diego, in genetics, is now in Salt Lake City, because Salt Lake City is drawing a lot of the biotech away from San Diego and away from the Bay Area to Salt Lake. Salt Lake is a beautiful city. It's very enjoyable. But this is kind of, we watch these things. If you're interested in the economic health of California, you've got to watch these demographic trends. And there are a lot of people who write very intelligently on this, Dan Walters being one of them. Victor Davis Hansen's written a lot on this as well. So what are the threats that we're looking at going forward? There are a lot. Unfortunately, California, this is the second time I've seen it, where a wave of freedom sweeps across America only to stop at the Sierras. This is the second time this has happened. The good news is, and I was not, during the primaries, I was a Ted Cruz supporter, I was not a Donald Trump supporter, but I have to give this president some extremely high marks in what he has done. Well, look, again, we call him as we see him. I am on the local Federalist Board of Federalist Society Board of Directors, and we watch the judiciary very carefully, and Neil Gorsuch is an absolute home run. This guy is out of central casting for what you want in a judge.
Wow.
Fabulous. Pruitt, EPA, I mean, just go down the list. I'm very, very pleased with the picks and Betsy DeVos. Does she have a spine or what? I'm just, again, I had my doubts coming in, and I was like many of you who were begrudgingly prepared to deal with the Hillary Clinton presidency, and I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning election night, and I had the biggest grin on my face that I couldn't wipe off for
Yeah,
2 days. I mean,
winning, lots of winning.
to see these snowflakes melt down.
Yeah.
Anytime you get depressed about what's happening here in California, and there's a lot to be depressed about, go ahead and replay, go to YouTube and replay Rachel Maddow on election night. See how every time I see that and the veins popping out in her head, it's hilarious. But unfortunately, we have to deal with reality here. We are facing some bad news, and that is the California legislature is now 2/3 supermajority in both houses, which means they can put constitutional amendments on the ballot without gathering signatures, and they can raise state taxes. We can only hope and pray that they continue the course of action that they have, and that is being fundamentally incompetent. They're not always reading off the same page. I don't like to be in a position where we rely on their lack of knowledge and incompetence in order to protect California taxpayers, but quite frankly, we're in that situation right now. But they could propose what we call a split roll property tax, which is taking away Prop 13's protections from business properties. They just passed they just extended the 13.3% income tax rate. There's talk now about another 2% up to 15.3. I mean, this is insanity. Oil severance tax, I think we can see one of the sleeper issues that people aren't talking about, but with a simple majority vote, the California legislature can authorize local governments to impose a supplemental income tax. Think about San Francisco and LA, as their pensions go belly up, they gotta find the money someplace. I believe that they're gonna start looking very seriously at a local income tax. Now, fortunately, they may get severe pushback from the education community because the CTA thinks that's their money. We'll see how that plays out. I think we will also see, we've already seen a bill introduced yesterday or the day before that would lower the 2/3, a provision of Prop 13 requires a 2/3 vote for special taxes at the local level, including parcel taxes. They're gonna come after that, sure as the sun's gonna set tonight. So that's gonna be high on our list to defeat. And then, of course, we have Senator Bob Hertzberg. We call him Hertzberg because he likes to hug everybody. But he is a nice guy, very intelligent, but he is an uber liberal, and this is the guy that wants to extend the sales tax that currently is imposed on tangible goods to services. And I get it, as good tax policy, you might want to expand the tax base, but if you're going to do that, you better lower the rate so it's at least revenue neutral. And when I say revenue neutral, I don't mean how they judge it. I want to have my number crunchers back east and some other smart people gauge any proposal to make sure if it's not a tax reduction, it's at least revenue neutral. He will not go for that. He says labor won't let me, and I said, well, you're not going to get any help from us. And of course, he's got another proposal to weaken Proposition 218. Proposition 218 is the Right to Vote on Taxes Act. We sponsored that in 1996, and it closes many of the loopholes in Prop 13, particularly as it relates to these so-called benefit assessment districts at the local level, and also requires what we call cost of service requirements on water rates and sewer rates, simply meaning that you should not pay more for water than it costs to provide you the water. It's very simple, and quite frankly, when I talk to the engineers in the public water departments, they like cost of service because they're engineers, and it gives them a metric against which they can judge how much, what they need to do.